Hey everyone, it's Jenna Melanson from Canadian Beats Media, and I'm here with Gabe Koury of Little Monkey Press in Toronto for our newest interview in the Inside the Industry series. Welcome, Gabe.
How's it going, Jenna? Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm glad to speak with you.
Absolutely. Nice to finally meet you and see your face. I've been writing emails to you for years. Didn't
It's
know who the
true.
heck you were. So now, now I get to put a face to the email.
Yeah. Okay, so you own Little Monkey Press in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
When and how did you start the company?
Company started. Company started January 2014, and it started because I was in a touring punk band from Montreal for years, for about 7 years, and for the longest time, I was the one who booked the tours and pretty much all the tours, and I did all the press for us. And I got us like some pretty good press for like an independent, DIY punk band from Montreal. And yeah, so when the band threw in the towel in 2013, and I moved to Toronto in the same year, um, I don't know. After a little while, I just felt like I didn't want to just like let go of what was like, let's say, my role in the Canadian punk scene or whatever. Just because like my band didn't exist, I didn't feel like I didn't want to not exist. So I enjoyed doing press, and I was pretty good at it. And the point where, well, pretty good at it in a sense, like I hustle as hard as I can. So I figure, why not start trying maybe a couple extra bucks, like a little side gig, and help my friends' bands and bands that I am a fan of that I think are really good get a little bit more exposure and a little bit more notoriety within the scene. And that's kind of how it birthed, and then it snowballed into what it is now.
At what time in a band's career should they consider looking into working with a publicist?
Oh, good question. I mean, I think it just depends how serious you want to take it. I mean, because sometimes I've worked with bands who are like, and on good campaigns, like they got good coverage and etc. That were pretty like out the gate, like pretty fresh out the gate. Like they might have been of members of other bands in the past within, let's say, their respective community, but like I remember I worked with this band called Soft Switch, I think, from Winnipeg. I could be messing up the name, and I apologize if any of them are watching or watch this and I mess up the name. But yeah, and I remember when they were like a fresh new band, like they maybe had a couple hundred followers on both Instagram and on Facebook and stuff. You know what I mean? Like they're still very fresh. But I mean, in that respect, but they were all, like I said, they were all in different bands in the Winnipeg scene prior to that. At least some of them were. So it's not like they were like complete like rookies. They were, just like, it was a new project with members who were kind of already seasoned. And like when it comes down to stuff like that, I think like that makes sense. And but I don't know. So I see within after maybe the first year, depending like where the individual musicians are at in their careers, quote unquote. Like I said, if you're kind of already seasoned and you start a new project, I think that kind of makes sense, because like and that was like one of many bands that like of that kind of situation where these people were already in I don't want to say established, but already in seasoned bands in their own cities and et cetera. And then they start a new project. So that's easier. But if you're like a fresh band out the gate, like, straight out the oven kind of thing, then yeah, maybe like after like the first year, play some shows, get some good recordings down. Cause there's nothing worse than trying to like promote or push like trash recordings. You know what I mean? That's like the worst. So I would say maybe after like the first year.
Yeah, sounds
Yeah.
about right. What do you consider the three most important things that an artist should have ready in advance to working with publicity?
Okay. Like I said, the best kind of quality recordings you could
Mhm.
afford, because every band is a different financial situation, and that's not anyone's fault. So you kind of dealt with the cards you have. So it's like the best kind of recordings you could possibly have, uh, because it's just better for them, and it's also easier for the whoever said publicist to pitch that to whoever.
Mhm.
Um, Socials, like I understand that maybe like Facebook might be slowly becoming more and more obsolete, etc., whatever. But having like an Instagram, I mean, I don't use Twitter, but Twitter is still strong. People still use it. It's still like a very valuable asset. So it's like things like Instagram, Twitter, a Facebook page, a Bandcamp. SoundCloud is like, I'm not a huge SoundCloud guy, but also most of the genres of bands I work with deal with Bandcamp. It's less with SoundCloud, so I think like having a Bandcamp is useful. So having like um, good socials, and good promo photos. Not amazing, once again, depending what you could afford, but like a nice, at least 3, 4 nice promo photos. Because you know what it is. How many bands hit you up with like these like their girlfriend or their cousin's digital camera, and it's like badly lit, and there's a drummer holding his drumsticks. It's like, okay, dude, it's not MySpace anymore. You know what I mean? You could you could get nicer photos now. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to cost that much. You know? So yeah, definitely like as good of a quality recordings as you can have via Bandcamp or whatever socials. You know, Instagram, Twitter. I mean, Christ. I mean, TikTok is one of the best ways to discover music disregarding genre. I mean, bands like Lorna Shore got huge on that, and at the same time, so did Olivia Rodrigo. So disregarding what genre you
Yeah.
are, I think socials are strong. So like, you know, potentially TikTok, you know, once again, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook is always a good asset. And once again, Bandcamp, and yeah, good promo photos for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so on top of that, you also work as a talent buyer for the Bovine Sex Club, which is one of Toronto's favorite venues for rock, punk, and alternative shows.
Yeah.
How did you come into this role?
Okay, so in 2013, I put on my first show in Toronto as like a Toronto guy, and it went pretty well. And then I put on a couple other shows in 2014, but it was I think it was April or March, but I think it was April of 2014. I put on a show for the Hotelier, this band from Boston that my old band Winslow used to play shows with back in the day, and they were gaining a lot of hype, and it was their first time headlining, or I think even ever performing in Toronto, and the show did really well. So after that, I just started getting like way more offers to put on shows, and also once again, being in a touring punk band for so long, and when you do it DIY, it's all about networking and scratching people's backs. It's like they hit you up, they hook you up in Edmonton, while you hook them up in Montreal or Toronto in this case or whatever. Right? So I was getting a ton of requests. Then I made friends with my homie Vanessa, who used to work at the Central in Smiling Buddha, and I was asking her for holds for the calendar. And then she just told me, she's like, why don't you just apply for a job and you could have access to the calendar and put as many shows as you want? Because at the time, the Central and the Smiling Buddha, both located in downtown Toronto, um, it was an event driven space. So I mean, we were the Buddha wasn't, but the Central was open regardless. But the Smiling Buddha was an event driven space, and for the most part, so was the Central. So our boss at the time really encouraged most of the staff to book events, whether it be comedy, sketch, art shows, to like death metal, indie rock, garage rock, slacker, whatever, literally whatever. And then I just started doing that. So I was at the Buddha booking shows as much. I don't want to say full time, but I was booking shows a lot from 2014 to about 2016. Because 2016, like December 2015 is when my boss at Bovine found out who I was. He got in touch with me, and they needed a booker. And I said, yeah, let's go. I mean, and on top of it, like my old band played the Bovine in 2009, and our stickers are still on the wall there,
Okay.
which is like with our MySpace and sonicbids.com link, which is wild, like an old EPK. And so just to kind of have it come full circle, because that was one of our best shows that we ever played in Toronto. And then like a little under 10 years later, I end up getting hired there to be the talent buyer. And then from 2016 until now, I've been the talent buyer for the Bovine Sex Club.
Awesome.
So I got hunted down, kind of. Yeah, I got head hunted. Yeah.
um, if someone is looking to play at the Bovine Sex Club or really any venue, what
Yeah.
process should they follow?
Okay, I'm glad you asked, and hopefully some of these bands listen, because it's taxing. It's annoying. So, okay, first off, the kind of the same things I mentioned prior: having good promo photos, adding when you email anyone, disregarding what city it is, disregarding what day of the night, include all socials. And I also, being a PR guy, for underground punk and hardcore and metal, include press. Like if hypothetically, and it's happened to me multiple times in the past, if a band sends me a submission, they want to play the Bovine, and they include an exclaim link, Maximum Rock and Roll, New Noise, Punk News, Brooklyn Vegan, which is whatever, kind of any, even Canadian Beats, anything, literally any press. It just shows to me outside of um it just shows to me that other people outside, sorry, my mic just died, whatever. Do you still hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Still hear me, right? Okay, so um yeah, it just proves to me that there's someone outside of your friend group or whatever, and a stranger validates your shit, like validates your music, it validates what the caliber of your material. And so that to me is a big one. So it's like links, If you have any press, that always helps. Good promo photos, and like keep it concise. And I learned the hard way. And the reason why I say that, because I used to submit my band for shows to different agents and stuff back in the day, like Underground Operations and whatever. And I remember Katie Clark from Underground Operations back in the day, because I tried to submit us to some play shows with Artist Life, and which we did. But she told me, because I wrote the emails backwards. I wrote all our credentials, all the crap, and then at the end be like, "Oh, can we play with Artist Life at this date?" And she told me, she's like, "Look, Gabe, do it backwards. So say what you're requesting right away. And then if someone's kind of like moderately interested, intrigued, they'll read through and see that you guys played with these bands and you went on tour here, blah, blah, blah." So it's like kind of keep it concise, like pitch what you want first, what dates, whatever. Or if you want to just be support for local shows, whatever, pitch that first. Then afterwards, like display your credentials. And then once again, eventually the socials and press links and stuff like that. Because like, places like Bovine, Baby G, Garrison, Sneaky D's, and a plethora of other venues, Horseshoe, whatever, Hard Luck, we all get like hundreds of submissions a month, a couple dozen a week, and like some are good, some are good. Some people get it, and then some just don't. Some just email, "Hey, is the 4th of November available?" And they send me a YouTube link. It's like, what the fuck? I'm not like, why do you think I would jump into that? Because you send me a YouTube link of playing at some restaurant. It's not even a venue. Yeah, I don't know your links. I don't know where you're from. Some people request dates at the club without even pitching their band name. "Hey, my name is James. My bass player is Craig. Can we play at the Bovine?" What's your band name? What genre are you? Like, how do you? Like, do you want me to sink my teeth into this immediately? Like, are you insane? Like, it's wild. So yeah, basically that.
Okay. When it comes to booking, are you looking for certain criteria? Like, should they have a certain amount of shows under their belt? Should they have a certain amount of social media following?
It depends, because like for me, the criteria of a band, okay, let's just say I'm booking a band for a Friday or a Saturday, which are the nights that everyone strives to make sure are the best nights of the week, naturally, the weekends. So Friday, Saturday, if you're a support band playing on a show, I have a criteria where just no shows 3 to 4 weeks before or after the set date, because I don't want to step on toes of your other shows, because I want to respect the promoters, and also I want your draw to be sick, because ultimately, as much as I might know that said band cares and they want to like prove themselves, I also got to deal with my boss and other superiors at the club that have to also see that these bands try and bring people out. Which if they bring people out, that means they'll buy drinks, which means they'll make money. You know what I mean? So it's like that's a criteria, and it's not just me. There's a lot of other promoters that have kind of radius clauses. It's because we have to cover our asses, right? So it's definitely that. And with socials, I mean, look, having really good socials is amazing, but that might not. I don't know if they bought those socials. I don't know if those socials is like what that means. Like, you know what I mean? So it's the socials is a nice. It's a nice like element to the whole thing to look at, but ultimately respecting the radius clause and being cooperative with sharing gear and and just hustling, because like there's sometimes where it's like some bands will tell me like, "Hey, we're sorry we couldn't get as many people out," or this and that. But like I see online that they're sharing the event. They put a Facebook ad, they put an Instagram ad. I see sometimes it's not even their show, it's my show, and they're printing out their own flyers and posting them. So if there's like if the ethic is there, then I'm into that. But sometimes socials might not even matter. I don't know. I think the cooperation is the main criteria, because if some bands are jerk offs, I'm not going to book them again. Like I'll gladly won't book you again. So don't be a jerk off to everyone. How about that? That's a good criteria.
So in the new world of 2022, what are the best ways to promote an upcoming show?
Well, look, paid Instagram and Facebook ads are probably the easiest, safest way, because you don't have to spend a ton of money to get your flyer and the pre-sale link or the Facebook event link within people's feeds, because so many people just scroll all the time, whether you're on transit, on break at work, or whatever, in bed before you go to sleep. So that is a really good new useful way that I think is this. You can't help but you can't deny that it infiltrates everyone's feed. And I still think posting flyers is sick and really cool. Like just like literally like posting handbills and posting flyers on places. And yeah, having a consistent, being smart with posting. That's another thing too I realized, because if you post at like 10 o'clock at night, there's a massive possibility that not as many people as you think are going to look at it or see it. But if you post, I looked this up. If you post between like 10 to noon / 12:30, if you post in between that period where it's like lunchtime for a lot of people, that's a good time. And then between like 4 and 4:30, when people are pretty much leaving work and heading home from work on transit or whatever. So between those times, so if you're efficient and economical of how you use social media, I think it might not even matter what it is you're sharing, but if you use the right times to share, you can maximize at least the viewers or the people that actually see the post or the ad or whatever. So I think it's just being smarter, because back in the day you could handbill at the end of a show, you could post flyers at every street post, community boards at record stores, which are still great tools to use naturally, but there's a lot of easier ways to make it happen. And I find if you literally play your cards right and like do it properly and select the right times to post and etc., you could maximize the same kind of viewership in that respect.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add for the listeners? Any other tips or?
Free Palestine. No, I'm just, well, yeah, but no, like I said, I mean, being in a band, it can be really hard and annoying, but if you play your cards right, it doesn't have to be that difficult and doesn't have to be that strenuous, and you could actually maximize and maximize your experience and actually have a good experience coming out of it. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be that difficult. If you play your cards right and you work as a team, and you could even if it's just locally or regionally, you could still play good shows, have people want to work with you, and have people want to remember you, and you be in like the lexicon of what's going on in your local community, because you're in New Brunswick, right?
Nova Scotia.
Oh, okay, so you're in the East Coast. So I mean, regardless, same kind of thing. So it doesn't matter where you're from in Canada. Like, play your cards right, work as a team, be cooperative. Not all promoters are trying to scam you out of shit all the time, and not all PR people are trying to yank money out of you. Like, I don't do it for a check. I make a couple bucks, granted, but it's like it's not the sole way I make a living. So I'm not trying to screw people over. And same thing with booking. It's like I'm not trying to screw people over. I do this because I care, and not just me, a lot of other people do. So it's like, cooperate with the promoters and the people that you might be working with, and there'll definitely be benefits in the long run for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it was awesome talking with you, and hopefully we'll chat again.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.